When I say that we Iranians and Israelis understand each other is not to attack America, I mean, I'm sure the Americans understand their region more than we understand their region, right? I just think that given that we're in the same neighborhood and we're dealing with the same threats and we're dealing with the same unique values in the middle of the sea of death and, the fight for our survival. And I think that, I mean, as an Iranian, I do think that the Jews have had hundreds and hundreds of years of experience of what we only are experiencing in the past 47 years. If there's anybody that could understand what we're going through under the Islamic Republic, it's only the Jews. It's not just that we have ancient bonds. It's not just that we have the same ideological enemy. It's not just that we have the same political entity as our enemy. It's not just that we are fighting for life while being surrounded by a cult of death. It's also that you understand our suffering because your entire history has been built upon fighting the same type of challenges that we have been dealing with in the past 47 years. So I think it resonates and you understand. And this is why, we very much appreciate, we feel very lonely in this region if it wasn't because of Israel. So, this is why we appreciate it, having Israel so much. And it's so beautiful that so many Iranians who are falling back in love with Israel are also discovering that this bond goes back, thousands of years. And you know how Iranians are obsessed with their history. So as soon as they learn that this is
As
how
are
we
Jews,
were
by the way.
historically, yes, yeah, I mean, we have to, be, right? Because it's our identity is tied into our land, right? Oh, this is another thing that we have in similarity. Like our identity is very much tied into the land. Like the love for the land itself and how the ideas are connected to the land is also very similar between Iranians and Israelis. So given how much Iranians are also obsessed with going back to their historical roots, as soon as the young generation learns that our historical roots, that we were the friendliest people to the Jews, and how much Cyrus the Great is praised by Israelis, and that historical record that we have, they also very much welcome going back to that. So there's so many reasons for us to be allies and
Yeah.
friends, not just allies, but also friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I feel like we're you said it exactly right, and really resonated that like we can. I think we're the only ones who can understand each other like
Yeah.
deeply in terms of what's happening right now. I actually had a couple questions. The first one is looking at the map after the revolution. I keep going back to a potentially really strong alliance between Israel, Iran, and India in terms of common interests and complementary resources and capabilities. Do you think that is likely to happen? And because if it does, I actually think it can be like a world power level alliance.
I hope so. I do hope so. I really see India to be as part of the solution in the upcoming global Cold War with China on one side. I do want America, especially, to do as much as possible to attract India into this side, and Israel being a US ally and Israel and India having a close relationship will benefit, would help with that. We don't have as much of a connection with India as much we have with Israel. So that's something that we need to improve and work on. The fact that India's challenges, a lot of it also has to do with Islam, might help a lot of Iranians see eye to eye with India, given that a lot of India's challenges are Iranians are so Islamophobic that if you're being Islamophobic as well, they just bond over that. I'm joking. Well, maybe I'm joking. I don't know, but I don't know how much I'm joking, right? But I mean, one thing that might hurt that, I don't know if how many people, it might not, it might, but I don't know how many people noticed that, is that when it came to condemning the massacre of the Islamic Republic, if for some reason, India, like in the United Nations, for some reason, India voted against. They didn't even abstain. They actually voted against. Right. So that was the only unexpected country. Like all the other countries that voted against were either commie or Islamic, which we or Russia or China. The only country that was like neither Islamic or Russia or China or a commie country that voted against that was India. Like, but I mean, I still don't understand why they voted against that. They could, if they wanted to keep it neutral, they could have just abstained. So if that gets highlighted, that would be something that many Iranians will might consider unforgivable. However, India just recently did come and capture, I mean, took
An
over some
oil
of the
tanker.
oil tankers
Yeah.
of the Islamic Republic, which was very helpful. So that is something to celebrate. I know Indians have a positive view of what they call Parsis, because apparently the Parsi community, which is Zoroastrian Iranians inside Iran, are very highly regarded. They're very much respected, and apparently the Indians love them as part of India. So by extension, many Indians consider Iranians to must be the same. So given the positive experience and the respect that they have for the Parsi community inside India, many Indians have respect for Iranians. So there's that. We could work on that. But I'm very much in favor of working on the relationship between Iran and India. And I think Israel could be the in between
The
to make
glue.
that happen, given that
Yeah.
the glue, because Israel will have a good relationship with both. It would be
Okay.
a good power. Yeah.
And I don't want to take too much time because I feel like I'm already going over. So the final question is about the propaganda that, again, we can also, we're kindred spirits in that, in that we saw how much the Islamic and commie psyops and propaganda outlets and the social media bots and so on have really heard both of our struggles. And I was wondering, what do you think about Iran? Because Israel is small; it's like 10 million people, and we just can't fight that war alone. And I was wondering whether you think that the free Iran would be able to help both restore our name and also explain, your own revolution, what's actually going on, in like, because the RGC actually absolutely already has like infrastructure in place for amplifying messaging online. It might be actually a moral thing to use those methods of amplification to actually send a real signal for what's actually going on.
Yeah, so we have soft power, and then we have military power. We have intelligence. We have the army, the Artesh, and then we have soft power, which is we have 90 million Iranians who are now going to be free to basically give a positive message of Israel from the Middle East, which I think that would be, before we even get to military and intelligence, I think that would be a significant contribution. 90 million Iranians now the completely being free to give their story without the Islamic Republic silencing them will be like we will have more pro-Israeli message coming from the Middle East, maybe than even Israel itself, given that the Iranian people would be unleashed. And the reason that would be very powerful messaging is because it's from the Middle East and they're not Israeli, right? It would be very difficult to suggest that Israelis are oppressors against, non-Jewish people, when a country that a lot of the leftists, a lot of the communists, or a lot of Islamists will consider to be oppressed by Israel and Zionism and imperialists, West now that they're completely free, their voice will be undeniable. Like nobody right now, there are a lot of people like Anna Kasparian. They deny what we actually stand for. They say that we hate Pahlavi. They say that we hate Israel. They say that we don't want United States intervention. So a lot of these people will be embarrassed and corrected for the whole world when the Iranian people actually will be able to give their voice out there. So imagine the effect, the PR effect for Israel where so many Iranians will now be waving the flag of Israel inside Iran as soon as they're free. Like imagine the wave of Israeli flags held by Iranians inside Iran, and the media effect of like the coverage of that. Like, look, Iranians, as soon as they're free, there's just a sea of Israeli flags being waved inside Iran next to the, I don't know, maybe the tomb of Cyrus. This would be a huge, devastating blow to the axis of resistance and the narrative, if there is such a thing as the axis of resistance remaining after the fall of the Islamic Republic. So, because I mean, they will lose. Remember, a lot of the things that upset you when it comes to watching the West and the crazy, stupid narratives, they're not organic. So the Islamic Republic falling will cut a lot of their funding. So you will have a lot of positive information coming from the Middle East itself, from Iranians supporting Israel, but you also get a lot of cut of funding to the propaganda arm of the Islamic Republic inside the West. When it comes to military and intelligence, so it's true that we need to be rebuilding our army and our the Artesh and also Savak, which is our intelligence operations, and that might take a while. However, remember that we have oil and gas, and all of that oil and gas money, now that is all the oil and gas money that was being spent on destroying Israel, now is going to be spent on building an army and intelligence operation that is going to be working side by side with Israel to basically find these all of these destructive Islamic groups in the region and eliminating them. So even though we have to start from scratch and it might take a while to build it up, we do have a lot of oil and gas to sell to at a reasonable price now instead of at a discount to China in the free market to rebuild this army. So that is going to significantly help Israel. Not that much at the beginning because it will take time. But remember, Savak was trained by Mossad, right? So when Savak was around during the Pahlavi dynasty, Israel said, there's a reason why Israel found it beneficial to train Savak, right? And I think we're going to go back. I think, given how much, how the way United States treats Israel, I think Israel is going to treat Iran like that, because United States realized that it's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot very advantageous to them to have a very powerful ally that seemed to be really good at fighting, to keep cooperating with them and supporting them, to basically, because their enemies have also happen to be the United States enemies. So why not help them get as strong as possible to fight their mutual enemies, right? Benefit Israel, and Iran with a powerful army will benefit Israel. So given how much we're aligned, I think Israel will be there cooperating with Iran to build its army and intelligence operations. And I think the return on investment from that will be much higher than what they put in there.
And the Israeli military budget would actually like free up. I saw an analysis of like $100 billion, like a year or something crazy, that is spent just because of Iran and its proxies. So
Wow.
there would be a way. Yeah, I don't know how real it is, and I'm not sure if it was $100 billion or shekels, which is like a 3 times difference. But it's still, there's a lot of money that would free up, that would be able to, I think, help Iran reconstruct.
That doesn't take into account the money that will be coming, because the stability in the region will bring capital in the region and increase economic activity. So as much as Israel's economy is growing, after this happens, it would even speed up the growth of Israel's economy, which means that tax revenue will increase, and that means that the budget for the military will also be able to increase. So that's not even taking into account the economic growth from the stability that all of this would cause.
Right.
We are
Yeah.
going to have
Yes.
to move on with the list, but
That was great,
guys,
by the way.
yeah,
Okay.
would you like me
Thank you.
to add you again to the back of the list if you have anything else or want to keep going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. I will
No
add
pressure.
you.
No pressure. Like, oh my god, I don't know. Like, it's gonna be like, I don't have anything to say.
No, I
I don't
have
want
I have a small thing, but it's fine. If
Okay,
there's
okay,
time, and
beautiful.
if not, some other day.
Okay, beautiful.
No
I will
worries.
add you to the bottom. Next, we have Danny.
All right, hello. So I wanted to add to what Guy said at the beginning that I like Western values and I love America, but as of late, the current politics in America have anti-Western and anti-American elements. And it's not just that they're anti-Israel, they are anti-themselves, and more precisely, anti-everything that I like about them. So in every corner of the political spectrum that you find hatred for Israel, you will in equal amounts find hatred for America maintaining the American world order, which is what I'm so disappointed with. Case in point, I originally raised my hand to add to what I saw in your live stream with Goldie. Let me actually share my screen for a second. Is this it? Yeah. So he tweeted, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one, in response to this Islamist saying that we should dogs. And as a result of this, he got calls for censure from some prominent Democrats. And I just want to say that I hope this is held against them until either they improve their party platform or get voted out over this nonsense. I can put these links in the chat if people want to keep looking at it.
I mean, Randy Fine has an actual history of bigotry against Muslims. I don't blame the reaction that he got. He does have an actual bigotry towards Muslims. Of course.
Even if this is true, I think he's completely right on this issue, isn't he?
Can I also interject that it was one Islamist who has no elected position in power?
Okay,
That
time
it was
out.
no
Time
elected
out,
official,
time
and it
out.
was not huge
Time
organization with all these
out.
people.
Okay, we are not doing the interrupting thing today at all. Susanna wasn't here. We love her, and she's also high level, but we are not doing interrupting today because I'm going to mute for the whole show if it keeps happening. Sorry not to come down hard, but I put that boundary in the beginning, and it has to stay firm. Otherwise, it just keeps snowballing.
So, BT, is it okay? What do you think if we do that, except for people who are mods? What do you think? Mods could jump in?
Absolutely, yes, sure.
Yeah, okay.
I was actually done with my point, so I'm happy to invite for comments from, for example, Samantha if she wants to.
I want to comment on what Susie said. I would can I just for people who don't have the context, is it okay? Because I went over this during the show, but can I go over it? Can I share everything here now, just really quickly for people who might not know what's happening? All right, so so this is how it started. This lady, I don't even know who she is, posted, finally, New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs definitely have a place in society, just not as indoor pets. Like we've said all along, they are unclean. So this is a serious. I mean, this person's Samantha. You're right when you say okay, this is just one person, and she's not it doesn't have any position. But this is part of a broader thing. Okay, I see this as a threat because this is the normalization of enforcing Sharia. So even though she might not be we're using her as a warning, I'm just using her as a demonstration because this is how it starts. They have an ummah, which is like a nation, and then they want to have they want to say oh, these are our practices and this is how you should do it, at least in the Muslim areas. And then they're going to have their own enforcement mechanism like they have in the UK and some areas of the UK. So basically it's effectively enforcing laws parallel to the states, which now that you have something like a nation, and then if you have enforcement of laws, or then that's a state. If you have enforcement of laws, that's a state. So you basically are you're challenging the nation state from within. This is why I know this might sound extreme. You might disagree with me, but I consider this invasion from within. I do agree that the wording here, let's go to this wording. I do consider this to be something worth amplifying. If Susie is saying this man is anti-Muslim instead of anti-Islam, I think the fact that this post got this much attention to it is good. I would have changed this myself. I wouldn't say dogs and Muslims. So here's what he said. He said, if they force us to choose the choice between dogs and Muslims, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. I would have said Islam. I would have said, if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Islam is not a difficult one. I wouldn't say Muslims. So this guy seems to be more anti-Muslim than anti-Islam, and we here are anti-Islam. However, I would want to call people out who are being anti-Muslim, but at the same time, I did repost this because if I just wanted to only repost things that is getting the attention to what I want in a way, if my condition is that it has to be written perfectly, then it's going to be really hard for us to find any allies or any cooperate with anybody. Yes, I mean, the people that we might support. I mean, I worked with Muslims, and Muslims have some of the most disgusting, vile ideas, but I found enough. Sometimes I managed to find something that I shared with them in common. And I like, if I don't repost this, then the Muslims that I worked with, I shouldn't be reposting them as well because they believe in the Quran, and the Quran is vile and disgusting. So why would I repost them? Like, based on the history that they have, given that they support Islam. So when I see a message that is, I don't know, 80% okay, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let's just amplify this, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And given also as an Iranian how much attention this is bringing to the fact that, okay, Islam is anti-dog, but Iranians are pro-dog. So like I saw Tommy posting this. I need to repost Goldie because Goldie posted this video as well, but I didn't see it. But here, how people treat dogs tells you everything you need to know about them. Iranians treat this good doggo very well. So this video has went viral from the protests in Iran.
بابا اینا از چند طرف مثل ما دیگه کردیم یکی از دوستم میاد مثل رئیسم میاد ما اومد.
And then we had Ricky Gervais, who I love. He got involved, saying, "Say hello to my little friend with his dog." And then I shared this on the stream. This was from just a few days ago. This I'm just going to give you the short summary. This dog, whose name Shelby, was shot dead in front of its owner by the Islamic regime for getting confession out of the owner. So agents of the Islamic regime raided the home of a poster in Mashhad, and to force a confession out of him, they shot this sweet dog named Shelby in the head from just a few inches away. There's another video that I don't think I want to show you guys because it's going to devastate you. It's about how the Islamic Republic kills dogs, and it's a video of them being hanged slowly to death. So I'm not going to show you that because that killed me. So I'm not going to share that with you. So apparently some of you haven't seen this. This is another video, absolutely heartbreaking video. Pet owners in Iran have taught their dogs to hide when passing Islamic regime agents and police. The Islamic Republic in Iran kills dogs because they are seen as dirty animals under Islamic law. So look how well trained this dog is. So when he tells his dog police, he goes and hides. Watch this. Police. Like it is so cute, so well trained. He's like, I don't know what his name is. He's police, and he goes and hides. Police. It's so sweet. And then I also showed on the show that look, there's some areas in the UK apparently that you can't take your dogs. The police is stopping you because Muslims would not like it.
This is the police. Hey, I'm no nuts. This is the police appeasing the leftists again.
Anyways, I don't want to go through this video a lot. I just want to make sure that this Ramadan, I think people should take their dogs into Islamic areas if it's safe for them, just to make sure that that Muslims cannot enforce their, stupid laws on you in your own cities. Last video I want to share is that this man was killed by the regime as one of the people who was protesting, and he left a message for people regarding what to do with his dog if he dies. I just wanted to share that with you really quickly because I see some of you haven't seen this. So this is Javidnam Ali Karami. So Javid means the people who were killed by the regime, and this was his dog, and this is him before he died. Let me just play the video really quick, and then I'll translate it for
اگه
you.
من قبل از سگم مردم بذارید بدن بیجان منو ببینه اون مرگ رو میفهمه اگر مرگ منو حس کنه میتونه برام گریه کنه و عزاداری کنه ولی اگر بدن بیجان منو نبینه فکر میکنه ترکش کردم و منتظر برگشتن من میمونه اگه من قبل از سگم مردم بذارید با هم خداحافظی کنه سگ یعنی دوستیه بدون محدودیت اگه من قبل از سگم
So he's saying, if I die before my dog, let him see my dead body.
مردم بذارید بدن بیجان منو ببینه اون مرگ رو
because he understands death.
اگر مرگ منو حس کنه میتونه برام گریه کنه و عزاداری
If he feels my death, he could cry for me and grieve my death.
ولی اگر بدن بیجان منو نبینه فکر میکنه ترکش کردم
But if he doesn't see my body, he's going to think I abandoned him.
منتظر برگشتن من میمونه اگه
And he will keep waiting for me to
من
return.
قبل از سگم مردم بذارید با هم خداحافظی کنیم
So if I die before my dog, please let him say goodbye to me.
سگ یعنی دوستیه بدون محدودیت
So he's saying dog is basically friendship without condition. So and this is him. This is his body. This is where where he buried him, and this is his dog, by his burial ground, by the place that they buried him. But the main thing he wanted to make sure before he died is that his dog, his baby, doesn't think that he abandoned him. He wanted to make sure that if he died, he knows that he died. His dad died, and he didn't just abandon him. That was on his mind before he went into the streets to fight the regime. What was on his mind is, what if I die and he thinks I just didn't come home and I just left him? So he wanted to make sure that he saw people show him that no, he died, he didn't abandon you. Anyways, I just wanted to show that to you because the difference between the Islamic culture and the Iranian culture is very, very significant, and in so many different ways. And I mean, it's really hard to count them. And now one of them is also the way that they treat dogs. And the love for dogs in Persian culture is ancient. It's also part of Zoroastrian religion because dogs are sacred in Zoroastrianism, and it's very basically the opposite of Islam. Dogs are najas. Najas in Islam means spiritually impure. Spiritually impure. And Muhammad is also famous for ordering people to kill dogs. And then we have authentic hadiths that he ordered all dogs to be killed. And then at some point they realized that that's too much because some dogs are useful. So he said, okay, don't kill dogs, but if they're fully black, then you have to kill them because black dogs are the devil themselves. So sorry, that went for too long. I just wanted to quickly share that with you guys. Yeah, Danny, go on.
VT, am I allowed like 2 more minutes, or do you want to put me at the back of the list?
Go ahead, we'll do 2.
Okay, so I think we should be encouraging voices against attempted Islamic takeover like Randy Fine. And on that note, I also wanted to bring attention to UK politician Rupert Lowe and the party is launching Restore Britain, if anyone has heard of that. And yeah, it's basically all anti-Islamic takeover. He put out like a 10-minute video, but I can't show this too. I'll just try to link it.
Susie's concern is something that we need to take seriously because, anti-Islam activism turning into anti-Muslim activism harms our cause, but it's really hard to manage that because the human mind will naturally connect the disgust that they have with Islam. They naturally will connect that to Muslims. But if we keep wanting to police people, then it's going to be hard to do anything. So I don't really know how to manage that other than just demonstrating how we do it. But when it comes to there's so many different institutions, so many different groups, so many different activists, and they're doing a lot of work that is being very effective, but sometimes they're going to say something that looks like they are basically enemies of Muslims in general. Like, should we basically cut ties or not support? Like, that is too much of a limitation on our fight against Islam. But it's also understandable that we don't want to encourage any form of discrimination as well. So if anybody has any a suggestion on how you could figure that out, that really difficult balance, and how to manage this, I'm all ears. But yeah, so
is that an invitation for my thoughts? I'm trying not to interrupt.
well, Susie, you're a mod.
Okay.
So you could. Yeah.
I want to be sensitive. My opinion is like there are a lot of people in this space who have a very problematic approach to tackling these issues, some of which, at least in the American context, are flatly and obviously unconstitutional. And so my experience is that it is helpful to build a relationship with those people and emphasize all of the things that you have in common and all of the ways in which your goals are aligned, and you recognize that what they feel is a problem you also agree is a big problem that needs to be addressed specifically. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of times attempts to address Islamic problems are diluted by making it about every religion. And it's like, no, it's okay that we address the Islamic issue specifically, but trying to steer them in a more positive direction, and because ultimately that more positive direction is more likely to be useful and more likely to be implemented. So, like, a quick example would be Representative Chip Roy introduced like the Sharia Free America Act. But if you look at the language of that bill, it just says that like adherents for Sharia are not going to be eligible for kind of certain visa stuff, but they in no point define what Sharia is. Like, that's not very helpful. And also, like, by Sharia, do you mean like like someone's zakat? Do you mean the way that they fast? Do you mean the way that they do ablution? Like, so that kind of legislation is not helpful because it's marketed poorly and defined poorly. But you can agree that the implementation of Sharia law above American constitutional law is a problem that does happen in the United States. So in that case, it's good to reach out to those people and try to build a relationship with them and explain how they could do what they do better. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, and can I add, I fully agree with your approach of engaging with people that we like mostly agree with and want to correct them to be less extreme. But I just want to add that since desperate times call for desperate measures, we can afford the most moderate approach when we act before we get desperate. So I think it's also important to try to act quickly and decisively before we're worried that, let's say, the US is imminently going to have a 1979 type revolution.
I mean, I think the US is not in a dire position. I think the United Kingdom is in a dire position. But
it's not in a dire position yet, but we want to act before it gets into a dire position so that we don't have to do anything extreme.
Well, yeah, you were saying, what warrants moderation versus urgency, and I don't think the US is at a place of dire urgency. On other scenarios, sure.
I think Jeffrey also wants to add something.
Yeah, Jeffrey, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I raised my hand, so I can wait till other people go. If you want me to, I can go.
For the list, you mean?
Yeah, I can comment on this though. I mean,
go ahead. Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I shared a personal experience that I had with the group and, the YouTube audience and all that. My in-laws are practicing Sunni Muslim, and so they very much know my position on Islam, which is very critical and indeed in opposition to. And so there was, like, in 2006, they were doing their Eid at the end of Ramadan, and there was this very doctrinaire douche canoe from Canada who kept on yapping for, like, how Israel sucks and like everything's run by Zionists, and I like took his bullshit for about an hour, and after that I had enough, so I just like systematically deconstructed Islam and like shat in its mouth. And so my in-laws asked me something. They asked me a question, said, how could you say you love us yet you hate Islam? And my response, I paused for a minute. I said, my response was, I love you for who you truly are, not what Islam misled you to believe that you are. I'm going somewhere with this regarding what's the operational utility here. So you're very right in the sense that it's not operationally advantageous it's not advantageous from an operational or moral perspective to be indiscriminate in how you apply criticism, right? Or deal with a real threat. I'm going to disagree with Susanna. I would contend we are very much in dire straits in the United States. I've faced off directly against elements of the Muslim Brotherhood, Imam Rauf, Daisy Khan, all their leftist enablers. I mean, there's video recordings of it. They're friggin' nuts, and they got their claws in everything. So that being said, that still doesn't mean we can afford to be indiscriminate. So what do I mean? Here's what I mean. One of the ways this was actually said to me by, was a padre, or he was kind of like a Gregorian monk. I actually met him when my mom was in the recovery room about 10, 11 years ago. And we were talking about, interracial tension and how people view those things in a manner that allows you to be decisive, right? Yet not indiscriminate. I'll get to that in a minute. So he kind of categorized them in two different ways. The northern view, particularly leftist northern view, like the leftist warped version of northern view, passes on entire demographics, not individuals. Like they give an exception to entire demographics, and the burden of proof lies on the observer. Well, that's not rational because human beings operate around something called bounded rationality. The southern view says they'll make exceptions for individuals, not the entire demographic, and the burden of proof lies on the observee, while you maintain a critically open mind. So what does that mean like operationally? Think about what happened with Savak, right? And how this is one of the things that undermine the efficacy of Savak in stopping the Red-Black Alliance and undermining the Shah. There's a difference between decisive and extreme, and people confuse those two things, right? In times of crisis, which is where we're at, it is only rational, to David's point, to be decisive. There's a difference between that and extremity. The difference is focus and discrimination. Yeah. So in Western military doctrine, it is very much. So what does that mean, like socioculturally? We don't have enough people, unless you're going to engage in like wholesale genocide, right? You're going to punch 1.2 billion people's tickets. It's not operationally feasible. Even if that was well, I can't say that with targeted bioweaponry. That's not true anymore. So even if that were true, it's still not operationally desirable because you're wasting effort. It is very much within Western civilization's military doctrine of conservation of force, both for moral and operational reasons. Because when I'm not trying to slaughter non-targets, it means that I can put more effort on actual targets, actual threats. And so when you think about things like having dialogue with other elements, I do that even when I engage with, I face off against the left. You can reach out, provided you're also on guard that such efforts are not co-opted by hostile extremist elements to lower the entrance barrier for them to include their sedition as part of the discourse, as part of a broader long-term strategy of calculated aggression, and set up their centers of gravity to hit you when you're vulnerable. That's exactly what happened to the Shah, right? People confused Savak's decisiveness in response to legitimate threat as being indiscriminately extreme. And so what happened was elements of Carter's government and or in response to the amplification of disinformation pushed by Soviet-backed leftists throughout like the media and the rest of it, curtailed Savak's decisive acts because they were misled to believe that they were indiscriminately extreme.
All right.
Armin, Susie had something else to add, if that's okay.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Yes.
No, I'm good.
Never mind.
Okay.
Okay, I don't remember who asked that question. Was that Danny, or did we move on to Ali?
That was me.
Okay.
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so Ali, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Armin, after you left
Hello,
the
Ali.
stream yesterday, Goldie had the major come up and he spoke about the location of the Gerald Ford and the timeline of a potential attack. And I wanted to see if you or Jeffrey or anyone else had any insight or anything to add on it. The carrier yesterday was spotted off Malta, which is just south of Italy, and it was going to approach the Suez Canal. Crossing that would take 2 days, and then it was going to go and link up with the Abraham Lincoln, which would take another, like in total, all of this would take about 10 days, which is what we also heard from Trump today. He's saying 10 days, and we'll see. And then the major was saying upon linking with the Abraham Lincoln, the strikes would begin within 48 hours because it's simply too expensive to keep going any longer than that.
Okay, so it's interesting. I've heard maybe this is wrong, but I've heard that the Gerald Ford carrier strike group is going to be where it needs to be by Sunday. So that is, am I mistaken about that? Because that would be like in the next 3 days or so. That's what I've heard. So, and also given that President Trump likes to do an attack. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying what I've heard. I don't know which one of these is correct. By the way, I've heard all estimates when it comes to United States attack on the Islamic Republic. I've heard this weekend. I heard 10 days from now. I've heard 3 weeks from now. I've heard a couple of months from now. I've heard so many different estimates. I've heard even like something up to like March, December. I haven't heard any analyst saying that they will not attack. Like not a single analyst is saying that the United States is not going to attack. So if they don't attack, this is going to be very bizarre, right? It's going to be basically against everyone's prediction. But the time estimates are all over the place. To me, that suggests that nobody knows. Given that many people whose job it is to actually analyze when the attack is going to be happening, the diversity of the guests and how all over the place it is, to me, it suggests that it's like we don't know is the best answer. I think not even Trump knows when they're going to attack. I don't think they have. It might be that they haven't even yet made a decision. It might be even that they're like, let's just make sure that we are ready in case we need to attack, and then we'll see how it goes. Because you don't know. There might be a chance that the Islamic Republic will surrender. Even there's a very small chance, almost zero, but it's not zero itself. So why not see? Maybe they will give us some. I don't know. Everything suggests that from a U.S. perspective, it does make sense to start the war within 10 days from now, like this weekend. This weekend makes sense because I've heard Gerald Ford is going to be where it needs to be this weekend, and oil prices right now are very stable, and it's really good. Like even if it disrupts the oil markets, we're in a very good position right now when it comes for an attack. Everything just everything is perfect right now for an attack. So it does make sense for them to attack. Trump did say that so there's two different things I've heard. I heard that everything is ready by Sunday to do an attack, and Trump also came out and said that you will know within the next 10 days. So he didn't say in 10 days, he said within the next 10 days. So, but also remember that during the 12-day war, Trump was talking about negotiations when they did the attack. However, he did also give a deadline for the Islamic Republic, and right on the spot when the deadline finished, they attacked. So there's a lot of contradictory information. I don't know which one to go with. I do suspect that if anybody speaks with certainty regarding when the attack will happen, I would suggest them to, even if they consider themselves to be experts, given that other experts disagree with them, I would be more skeptical regarding my suggestions, given that if it doesn't happen when they said it would happen, then that would be a huge blow to their credibility. So it's always good to be skeptical. I mean, it's good to guess, but I think it's all over the place. I don't know, Jeffrey, what do you think?
A lot of open intelligence sources and reports from mainstream media and people who have ties to the administration says that the United States military is providing options to the administration and President Trump so they can strike as early as this Saturday. That's not confirmed. I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. That said, your observation is very much correct. It's not that President Trump doesn't know, it's because it's always going to be a moving target because the situation is fluid and ever changing, and so you have to modify everything on the fly. So that's why it's good to give a range, right? Given that where things exist right now, those things change, right? Chi-coms are helping the mullahs. We're putting in more stuff. Russians are helping the mullahs. Mullahs are just dispersing their stuff. All these proxies are doing all their shit. We're countering all that. So, I mean, these are all these moving parts. A lot of people got to kind of keep, analyze and find out when's the sweet spot. So, that's always going to be a moving target. What I'm saying is, given, keeping all that in mind, complex adaptive system, competitive adaptation, and all that, moving target. The most recent reports I've seen, open intelligence reports, which is longhand for saying people reporting in the news, is that the DOD and the Pentagon is providing Trump options to be able to strike by as early as this Saturday. And that's probably, and it doesn't look like it's going to be, they're not going to tickle him. Like a lot of people have signaled, and the people I know, Donald has absolutely fucking had it with the Mullah regime. He is fed up with their bullshit.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Look.
Oh, sorry.
I actually have the information. Hold on, let me see. Let me share my screen. This is what I have. So USS Gerald Ford will reach Arabian Sea in 4 days. So war could start by February 21st. So this is Saturday. So it's going to happen. It's coming earlier. So current tracking data shows that current tracking data shows that the carrier is on pace to reach the Eastern Mediterranean just off the coast of Israel by this Sunday morning. So I don't know where that is coming from. Okay. So yeah, earlier than, but I mean, we don't know. None of this is confirmed, as Jeffrey said. But some people are saying, guys, grab your popcorns. We might be entering. This is going to be the biggest war we have experienced since the fall of Saddam. This is going to be big if it happens. So yeah, go on, BT.
Armin, Susie had a question along this line for Jeffrey, please.
My question is basically, what, if any, consideration is being made in terms of timing of attack regarding the ongoing Olympic Games? Because, technically, Russia and Belarus, the reason why they got kicked out of the Olympics was because they invaded. Whoa, what is that sound? Mute. They invaded Ukraine during an Olympic truce, and technically the Olympic truce does not end until late March. And look, we like our gold medals, baby. I have another friend that's legitimately considering the likelihood of attack also timed around when FIFA soccer starts kicking off. I don't know. It's just something to consider. What's your opinion, Jeffrey?
So Tusi gets a lot of that on his channel, right? I'm just laughing because that was a question that kept coming up, and Tusi's like, "Why is everybody asking me about the Olympics?" I'll say this: geopolitics. I'm not saying that the Olympics is not any consideration. It's probably really low because geopolitics doesn't operate around slalom downhill racing. I mean,
we gotta watch that curling, Jeffrey. It's all about the
right.
No, but I don't know.
Wait, so you're
a lot of people are like, oh, how come the United States didn't get kicked out of the Olympics because they invaded Venezuela and, took out Maduro and all this stuff? And I'm like, well, first of all, it didn't happen during an Olympic period. And secondly, like, kind of, I mean, let's be honest, we're held to a different standard. Let's just be honest. And apparently it's like important that the invading country tries to like literally annex the sports organizations of the victim country. And I don't think the United States has an interest in annexing the sports organizations of Iran. I don't know, probably not a priority. But yeah, it's something I've been thinking about.
So quickly,
I mean, nothing that the United States is doing, but like is an invasion or anything that could be described as an invasion.
So the reason I'm saying that is only because I'm not God, and no analyst worth their salt would say this is 100% like it's this, right? There's always margins of error. I'll put it to you this way as I typed it. The Olympics is not the primary indicator I would use to determine when military campaigns are timed, right, at all.
Okay, we have a question from the chat. I want to keep us rolling because we're a little slow today and we've got a lot to cover. The question from chat is, I think Afghan Talibans are ready to give safe havens to the IRGC. Is that going to be a big problem or not?
Even though they're enemies, the Taliban likes to all of a sudden pretend to be that they're supporter of Muslim, anti-American Muslims when they need safe havens, and they will treat their Muslim brothers as people who deserve protection when non-Muslims are attacking them. They like to do that. They like to show a united front when it comes to humiliating Americans. So I wouldn't be. It's not, even though they are very much anti-IRGC. When it comes to America, they might want to do that, especially given that might give them some leverage over America. Given that they know America doesn't have an appetite to come into Afghanistan to start another war, the Taliban likes to poke at, try to find ways to show a lot of influence with very little power. But do you have any information that they're doing that? Because that's a risky bet to make against the Americans, especially now. Like, do we have any information that where that is coming from?
I don't see anything being provided in chat based on who asked the question.
I do also think that it might be very financially motivated, and everything I said to you would be just the PR front of it, because the IRGC has a lot of money, and they know how to move them. So they might be, given that they lost Venezuela as a safe haven, they might be interested to go to Afghanistan and offer the Taliban a lot of money for that protection money, basically. Knowing that United States is probably not going to bomb Afghanistan, given that, Afghanistan is actually a really good bet now that I think about it. If I was IRGC, because they know Americans would not tolerate the United States going back into Afghanistan. That would be a very huge, like, devastating blow to Trump, like going back to Afghanistan after all of him, a lot of campaigning that we shouldn't have gone there to begin with. So they're not going to bomb Afghanistan. They're not going to bring troops in the ground to Afghanistan. There are no people in Afghanistan, like the Iranian people who would be trying to hunt them down. Is very close. Afghanistan is very resembling a failed state. So as long as you have some militia backing you, that you could pay them back you, there's not going to be like millions of people trying to hunt you down and kill you. Now that I think about it, Afghanistan does. I mean, it's not like Pakistan where you have some centralized army that is somewhat organized and has a huge intelligence apparatus that they could sell you if somebody has a, like Afghanistan is actually looking, now that I think about it, it's very given. I mean, Venezuela was the best option for these people, Russia doesn't seem really good right now, given that Putin is not treating Assad very well. They're treating him like a prisoner. So it used to be Venezuela and Russia used to be the options that the Islamic Republic officials usually thought of when it comes to running away. But Venezuela is not an option anymore. Russia doesn't look like a good destination. So yeah, Afghanistan, unfortunately for the IRGC, because that's not a very fun place to live. But it does seem like at least the most secure option to live now that I think about it. Iraq might be good for some people. Iraq, no, that's too American right now. Too much American influence, too much American presence there. Yeah, like wait, you're right. There is no better place than Afghanistan. Is there a better place than Afghanistan? I mean, it's a shithole. These people had a luxurious life, so that doesn't look like a good place to go to. It would be a huge downgrade. But other than that, you're right. Actually, that's a pretty good guess now that I think about it.
Boys, we're going to North Korea.
Oh yeah, North Korea. Oh, they don't have that good of that. They don't have that. Yeah, they don't have the network in North Korea. But yeah, does make sense. But was that the question? Did I even go on, sorry, BT?
Yeah, it was. I think Afghan Talibans are ready to give safe haven to IRGC. Is that going to be a problem?
Oh, that is going to be a problem for the people who want revenge. For me, that's part of the solution because I also want to liberate Afghanistan. Okay, so now we have an excuse. Okay. Yeah, like now we have for me, that's for a lot of people who would be upset that the IRGC has a safe haven. I mean, I would be upset as well because I want justice, but it also provides, I really do think Afghanistan deserves to be. I mean, I think this is going to be a multi-decade project, but we could get started early with the excuse that you're hiding our murderers. So yeah, let's go. The more they plan, like I mean, they have better information than we do. So whenever they plan their escape, to me, it suggests that even them, with the better information that they have, are seeing the downfall of the regime. So that's a good sign. And honestly, like one thing I always like to point out is that we should let them escape. Okay, because it's better for them to escape and we hunt them down later than cornering them and getting them to kill more Iranians, right? It's basically like it's a cornered dog that will bite you. Don't corner them, allow them an exit. Get them focused on running away rather than focus on killing Iranians. If they don't have a way to run away, then they would be more focused on saving themselves by killing Iranians. So give them a way out. We could figure that out. We could bring justice later. And again, one more reminder to people who might be new here: we are very much inspired by how Jews hunted down Nazis after they built Israel. They weren't just satisfied by the fact that they had their country back. They went out Nazi hunting and basically brought the people who did the Holocaust back to justice. So we Iranians are going to be. I hope we Iranians get inspired by that, and we go and hunt down our murderers. And we have a lot of hunting to do because it's not just the IRGC. Hashtashabi was involved, Zainabiyun was involved, Fatimiyun was involved, Hezbollah is involved. So we have a lot of hunting to do.
Okay, next we have Samantha.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, yeah, like, honestly, the person who was saying that about dogs, this was not an elected official. This was not someone who, what's it called? This isn't someone who holds public office. It's not like, in Germany where you've seen like thousands of people coming out on the streets screaming for Sharia law. This wasn't that type of situation where it was like, oh, there were hundreds of Muslims making this like, statement and putting the statement out there, or even doesn't. This was one person. Yes, she's the woman who's in charge of, what is that organization called? Within Our Lifetime. So which is kind of scary. And like this woman's a bitch. This woman is an absolute fucking bitch. Okay, I hate this woman. Like, you have no idea how much I hate this fucking woman. But yeah, like it's what. And like something to keep in mind is you always, when you're not sure if something's like taking things too far, you want to do like the whole like word replacement thing, like try replacing the word white people with black people and vice versa. And like, I know everything's not, analogous, but like you want to play like mental exercise of try to make a replacement. If you think like, oh, that's not the same thing, try that. Sometimes it's not the same thing, but you want to like ask yourself like, okay, can I rationalize why it is not the same thing? Like, so, try replacing sometimes the word Muslim with Jew or Christian or Hindu and think to yourself, how would I feel
or
if
Nazi,
I saw...
or the word Nazi?
Okay, but like, if a Jewish person, and it was just like a lone Jewish person, even if like, not...
I think Nazi would be more close. I mean, I'm not suggesting that all Muslims are not like Nazis, but I think between the word Jew, like the word Muslim and Jew are less close to each other than the word Muslim and Nazi.
Armin, you're the one who knows that most Muslims have never read the Quran.
Yeah, most Nazis have never read Mein Kampf.
I feel like that's not true today.
That is, well, I mean, it was true during the World War II. Like most Germans considered themselves, Nazis. They had they didn't read the Mein Kampf. I mean, I think it's true with Nazis today as well. I met a lot of Nazis, by the way. I'm not saying they're completely the same, but I'm just saying they're closer.
Yeah, I didn't read the Communist Manifesto until I was already in a cult, so... Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, I think I mean, you might think it's you're saying that lady is not an elected official, so I could argue that, okay, well, that's good that they're reacting this much before it gets to the UK level. So people, when people say like United States is not like the UK, I might think like, okay, well, maybe it's because they're reacting this much to something like this. Maybe that's why it will not become like UK. Maybe this is why it's not like the UK, because they're not letting it.
I feel like it's misleading to say Muslims are trying to, like, because when it's one person who,
Well,
like,
I don't think people. Well, yeah, but it will get to the point of UK if you just don't react.
But like to say Muslims like plural when it's not plural, it's one crazy woman. I'm sure we can find. I mean, dude, how many Israelis have said totally fucking unhinged things?
I mean,
I
agree with you that I agree with you. If your point is that, if anybody says Muslims are trying to do this as a whole, I mean, I've met many Muslims who are not trying to do anything like that. So, like, it doesn't require all Muslims to want to do something like this for this to happen. In fact, the Muslims who don't want to do this are also very much effective in making this happen. In fact, if all of them wanted this to happen, it would not happen. It takes a lot of them not wanting to do this for this to happen, because the Muslims who are nice, decent people are exactly how you manage to sell the idea that Islam is not that dangerous. If all Muslims were following Islam, Islam would be not as dangerous. Islam is actually more dangerous because many Muslims don't follow Islam, because it disarms a lot of people, put their guard down because they notice how many Muslims don't follow Islam. If all Muslims were acting like ISIS, then Islam would have it wouldn't be able to infiltrate anywhere. People would immediately see the threat. Go on.
Okay, but like, it's to make it seem like it's something that a substantial amount of Muslims are currently like. No, one unhinged person said this, not.
I mean, it's not one person. I mean, if somebody says all Muslims are doing this, they're exaggerating. But if you're also saying one Muslim, that's also exaggeration to the other point, to the other side. I mean,
I
this
don't
person,
think other...
like, this person, yeah,
in New York City,
it's not just one person. It's not just one Muslim in New York City who agrees with this. I mean, it's probably not just one Muslim, right?
in America, I have not seen or heard of anyone coming out saying shit like we need to start banning dogs.
You haven't seen it. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. There are many Muslims in United States who their entire goal is to enforce Sharia law in the United States. I mean, Daniel Hariraju and his entire base, right? So Daniel Hariraju is a Harvard-educated Muslim who wants to bring Sharia law to the entire planet, including the United States. So there's that.
That's scary and fucked up. Oh my
yeah,
god!
And he has a huge fan base in America, and he's becoming more and more popular compared to the so-called moderate reformist Muslims. That's an indication that there's more than one woman when it comes to enforcing Sharia law. That's a huge indication. When he gets more views than Muslims who have reformist agenda, that suggests that American Muslims find Daniel Hariraju more compelling than those reformist Muslims, on average, not all of them.
Why do commies not understand the problem with Islamism?
Why commies don't understand?
Yeah, like why? Like what is wrong with them?
I mean, what do they understand? Can you tell? I'm just kidding. Why do commies? Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I just wanted to. I mean, for commies, the greatest threat to the world is capitalism, Western imperialism.
Yeah.
Right. So
America's vanguard of capitalism, so tear down America.
Yes. So Islamism is a threat to that. So it's a powerful tool. There you go. I mean, if you do believe capitalism is the greatest evil and is being protected, and the only reason why it exists is the United States, then anything against the United States, even if it's not ideal, is better than. I mean, even if Islam is bad, it can't be as bad as capitalism.
No, Islam is worse than capitalism.
Yeah, I'm just saying from the perspective of the anti-Western imperialism commies. By the way, that's a lot coming from you, given how much you hate capitalism. I think, by the way, Samantha, I do appreciate how lonely it must feel being like I hope that we could provide, I hope you feel like we provided a home for you here, given that you hate capitalism, but you hate Islam as well. It must be very isolating because people who are anti-capitalism don't hate Islam, and you hate both Islam and capitalism. So it must be
very isolating. Yes, very isolating. Like literally, imagine being like a very pro-Israel Zionist in a communist cult
who hates capitalism. Right. Okay. Well.
That's why I'm just at.
Well, we love you. Okay, so we love you no matter what you. Yeah. So you're always.
Love you too.
Okay, I am going to skip over my question and bump down.
Why?
Okay, we do not have time today. We have a lot on the list. And I'm going to bump Guy down to the end as well, as it would be his second time. So we next have Johan.
That is interesting, actually, that there are two large groups that we're kind of missing here. It's leftists that aren't in favor of Islamism, and they're secular Muslims. Like, where are those guys, right? They're just missing. It's kind of weird. I think it's something that you shouldn't let it slide, like Armin did. Like you need to distinguish those two apart. Like Muslims are the ones that practice Islam, right? And that's a religion, while on the other hand, Islamism is an ideology. And I think that there would be a lot of Muslims around that doesn't support Islamism, but you don't really hear much from them. And that's always been disturbing to me. Maybe they are just afraid of their communities. I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't remember my question. I think actually that was covered earlier by Jeffrey. So sorry. Next on the list. Thank you very much.
That's one of my
I just want to mention how the way I look at it, I think Islam and Islamism are the same thing, but Muslim and Islamists are two separate things, right? So the reason why Islam and Islamism is the same thing is because the idea of Islamism is supposed to be political Islam, like the version of Islam that wants to rule, to have Islamic rule. But there's no version of Islam that is not political. There's no version of Islam that doesn't want Islamic rule. So Islam is political to its core, and Islamic rule is fundamental part of Islam. So much so that if you remove it, it's not Islam anymore. So Islam and Islamism are the same thing. However, you could say Muslim and Islamists, because even though Islam is political, not all Muslims believe that. They're wrong, but what can you do? A lot of people suggest like, oh, they're wrong about Islam, so they're not Muslim. No, they're Muslims who are wrong about Islam. You're still a Muslim even if you're wrong about Islam, right? So there are a lot of Muslims who don't fight for Islamic rule, Muslims who believe in secularism. And by the way, Johan, you're right. They're missing in action, except in Iran. A lot of people suggest that these so-called moderate, secular Muslims, they're irrelevant because we never see them when we need them. Like they're not even part of the equation. So who cares? In Iran, though, I must admit that the anti-Islamic Republic Iranian Muslims have been a significant part of the revolution. They need to be recognized for it, and they need to be seen. Part-time Separi comes to mind when we talk about them. So I do want to give credit to that. But yeah, the rest of the world, there's like, I mean, I'm not saying if it's true or not, but there's a lot of people who have noticed that, at least mentioned that they're missing in action. But yeah, just a Muslim who is not an Islamist is somebody who thinks that Islam doesn't teach you that you have to rule Islamically, that Sharia is not necessarily mandatory. They're wrong, but even they're wrong, they're still Muslim. And an Islamist who thinks that Sharia. By the way, a lot of people who you would think they're moderate Muslims, they actually do believe in Sharia and enforcement of Islamic law. So I don't want to dismiss how big they are. Both of them are significant. There are true that there are a lot of Muslims are basically good, decent people, and they should be recognized as such. But I do want to warn you about there are a lot of other Muslims who live normal lives, but if given the opportunity, they would choose the ISIS side, right? The only reason why they live normal lives is because they don't think that the situation is ideal for going full ISIS. There are a lot of Muslims who live normal lives, but if all of a sudden ISIS came over and took over, they would be celebrating the shit out of that. And if they saw Jews were being massacred, they would be celebrating the shit out of that as well, even though right now they're living normal lives. And this is a difficult situation because they are very, like, when it comes to looking at them, they are living identical lives. The Muslims who living normal lives, who are living like are just genuine decent people at heart, and Muslims who are living normal lives, but if given the opportunity between the nation state that they're living in and ISIS, they will go with ISIS if that opportunity arises. And I bet you that even though like these Muslims might even be neighbors, and the first type of Muslims will be shocked to see that second type of Muslim that used to be just their normal neighbor to all of a sudden be like celebrating beheading of Jews. But and the challenge is that we don't know who's who. We don't know which Muslims who are living normal decent lives right now are the type of Muslim who would just be losing their mind with happiness and joy with the massacre of Jews if they given the opportunity. So that's why I recognize how sometimes people who are in favor of indiscriminate ban on immigration from Islamic countries, if you tell them, but look, this is a good, decent Muslim person, if they basically say, you know what, I don't know,